Anxiety-induced sleep struggle. Let's talk about it. I'm Elizabeth Rees, a transformational coach with a master's in applied positive psychology and coaching psychology. I'm primarily concerned with the human condition and the journey from suffering to flourishing. So I'm always looking for ways to integrate well-being practices into my own daily routine in a way that feels comfortable and intuitive. And I woke up this morning, as I often do, with a moment of peace, quickly followed by racing thoughts and anxiety. And this seems to be the complete opposite to other people. Most people feel extremely anxious before they go to sleep and wake up feeling a lot better. And it occurred to me this morning that my situation, while probably not unique, that everything that I do within my day absolutely ensures that a good night's sleep is a certainty. So I came into recovery about 7 years ago, and the first thing I did was to work on my sleep hygiene. And it was very simple things, that we all know. No tech, even reading to try and quieten our minds. I have always, since I was a small child, used my imagination in the period between when I close my eyes and when I eventually fall asleep. So the way that I would calm myself from my day is to imagine anything that I wanted to imagine that made me feel good. As a child, it was probably being a princess in a castle, fighting dragons. I don't think I dreamt about being anything in particular, but it was a safe space for me in a home environment that maybe didn't feel as safe as it could have done. So I read somewhere that a banana half an hour before you go to sleep is good, and I started to do that. And whether it was a placebo effect or whether it was the potassium and the carbohydrate and the combination that science tells us worked, it did work. I don't need it now, but I also knew that there are two things that guarantee, according to the research, according to science, guarantee longevity in life, and that is the quality of our sleep and the quality of our relationships. So for me to live in recovery and to have a life that I loved, it was really important for me to be able to rest and recover and reset every night and begin the day again, because in recovery we go one day at a time. And when we're running in survival mode, if we're stressed and anxious from work, if we're in one of the 7 stages of burnout, we feel survival mode very much in our bodies, so sleep becomes even more essential. So, how do I manage to sleep so well at night, considering, and you guys won't know, and there's much more behind the story, that my life is very uncertain. It's all very precarious at the moment. I live in the southwest of France, and I'm trying to stay in the southwest of France. I'm trying to build my business, and one step at a time. There's been some immense challenges, and I've been relatively nomadic. So it stands to reason that every day I would feel the enormity of the tasks that I need to do, the goals that I need to achieve, and each goal has its own specific sets of requirements. Sometimes it's fortitude, sometimes it's patience, sometimes I need more clarity. And what I realized today is that within my day, without realizing it, I do follow the PERMA model of well-being. So Martin Seligman, hailed as the father of positive psychology, which was credited as a new science in the early 2000s or the late 1990s, developed the PERMA model, P-E-R-M-A. Subsequently, H has been added to represent health. So P is for positive emotions, things like gratitude, love, hope, awe, zest. E is engagement, so mindful engagement in the tasks, engagement in our conversations. M is for meaning. If you've been following me a while, you will have seen that I write quite a bit about finding meaning in the smallest of our daily tasks. A is for accomplishment, so doing stuff, but also being something. You know, that period of time in the morning where we open our eyes and we welcome in the day and we start to think, what do I need to do today? And perhaps a more constructive way to consider our day would be, who am I going to be today to achieve and accomplish the things I need to accomplish within my day? And as I said, each goal will require a different combination of feelings and emotion and drive to create the meaning that creates the motivation for us to do the things that we need and want to do. So A is for accomplishment and H is for health. It's been, as I said, 7 years since I've been in recovery. So positive emotions are absolutely essential to my well-being. I must notice when I'm sitting too long in a negative emotion, fear, anxiety, guilt, shame, resentment, any of these things. If I sit too long, that emotion starts to take hold, and we can't help our thoughts. They come in and they go, and they can be intrusive, but we can notice them. We can appreciate that they have arrived for a reason, but they don't have to create our present reality, and they certainly don't have to create the reality that becomes the rest of our day. So there are many different ways to cultivate, create, and to upcycle positive emotions. And this is what I talk about, it's what I coach about, it's what I share about the journey from suffering to flourishing. And of course, well-being is a scale, so are our emotions. And knowing where we are on the scale of resentment or the scale of gratitude is also very useful. Engagement. So one of my values and action strengths, according to the Positive Psychology Strength Survey, which I really, really love, is love of learning. So if I do something, if I read something that is challenging to me, or I have a conversation about a topic that I am not super familiar with and I'm learning and I'm engaged in it fully, that also creates the momentum of well-being. So one of my latest blogs is it's called Finding Meaning in the Folds of a Napkin, and it tells a story of when I started to do front of house during my masters and towards the end of the pandemic, when I needed to earn some money. And I found myself faced with what looked like a never-ending pile of linen napkins. And the guy next to me was super grumpy. He clearly felt that he was above the task that was in front of him, and it was very easy for him to pass the task on to me. Now, in a corporate environment, the old Elizabeth might have said, folding napkins, you serious? This is below my pay grade. But I was not really in a position to take that stance, and it wasn't below my pay grade. It was what I was being paid to do. So I looked at the pile of napkins and decided that I wasn't going to adopt the same approach as my colleague. I was going to look at it as an opportunity to be grateful and thoughtful and meditative, and to imbue each napkin with a sense of love, because those napkins were going to go onto a table and they were going to be touched by a diner who was there to enjoy their meal. Maybe they were there with their family, or they were there for work. And I wanted some of that energy to go through into the napkin, so the napkin could fulfill its energetic purpose. Everything is energy, right? We know this in the quantum state. Everything is energy. So everything we take out and put back into the world just transmutes. It doesn't go away. It just becomes something else. And the accomplishment, I forgot relationships, PER, so relationships. It's simple. So connection is everything, and that feeds into the energy that I've been talking about. The quality of our relationships, also important. So I'm one of these people that will leave voice notes because I know people are busy, because maybe saves them having to call me back. Would I rather have a conversation? Yes, I would. But generally, I want people to know that I'm thinking about them. I enjoy my daily conversations. I'm relatively isolated here in the south of France, and so every in-person conversation, every little chit-chat in the street when I take Johnny out means everything to me. And so I'm constantly working on improving my relationships. And the last one, the A, or it's the penultimate one, accomplishment. If I've been doing all of the things that I've already talked about, I'm ticking off a list of sorts, although it's a list that exists in my head. I haven't physically written it down and said how many ways I'm going to accomplish all these things within my day, although for some people that might be really helpful. I don't feel like I need to do that so much anymore. And then health, I have a dog, my rescue dog Johnny, so I walk her every day, multiple times. And that's my health. Sometimes I don't want to walk her, but I have to walk her. And she is definitely more of a stayer than a walker, which is why I wrote a blog about walking being the new waiting, and how it actually forces me to slow down and be present in the times where I want to pull her along and she just doesn't want to move. So I have to stop and I have to look at the things that she's looking at. I have to smell the smells that she's smelling. And it becomes a much more pleasant experience than trying to rush through it. So by the time I get to the end of my day and I've done all of those things, I constructively look back, or I know by how I feel that I'm ready to sleep. And so I close my eyes, and like I did when I was young, I go into my imaginary world of who I am, what I've been doing, how it's made me feel, and what I'm going to do more of so I can get more of those feelings. So my sleep is really, really good, and I go again at it the next day, because the more I do this, the more I practice, the less anxious and the less fearful I will be going into the day. So if any of you who are listening to this struggle with sleep, want to know more about how practices that fit within the PERMA model of well-being could help you, I'm all about integrating things into our current rituals that are helpful, because more often than not, we're doing way more good things than we actually realize. We just don't notice that they are things that really, really help us. We're not doing them mindfully, we're doing them mindlessly. And I'm actually working on a workshop which is based on the principles of the miracle morning, but it's demonstrating how the miracle morning can start at any time of the day, and that the important thing is that we notice when we are already integrating aspects of it into our day and how we can do more of it. So 10 minutes of writing, you're probably already doing that in the form of a shopping list or a list of things to do, and you're writing it as a task, something that must be done, has to be done, it's a chore. But if we could look at that as a health beneficial act, intentional act that is actually serving a purpose of improving our well-being, it will change everything. So I think that's it from me for now on the principles of improving sleep through recognizing when and where we're integrating aspects of the PERMA model into our day. As I said, if you've got any questions, reach out to me. I'm Elizabeth Reese, transformational coach, positive psychology practitioner, and somebody who is very interested in the journey from any aspect of suffering, no matter how great or small, to flourishing, and how we can make that happen together. Thanks for listening.